Miso finds a file filled with the resumes of everyone who applied to be Young-joon's secretary 9 years ago, and she realizes that compared to all the others, she was clearly the least qualified. No prestigious degree, no certifications, nothing special on paper. Young-joon enters and asks if she wants to know why he hired her, and says, "Because you're Miso. Because you're Kim Miso." Still confused, she asks if he knew who she was before her interview, and with a sigh, Young-joon says he didn't. Miso admits that she was always curious why she was hired, because she only applied on the advice of a colleague and never expected to get the job. She wants to know what he meant by what he said, but he says softly there was no special reason. He explains that he deliberately chose the candidate with the least impressive credentials because that person would go overseas with him and experience a lot of difficulties, and he didn't think the overly qualified applicants could handle it. So he purposely picked the person who would be so grateful to have the job, they'd stay loyal, wouldn't complain, and wouldn't be tempted away by another company. Miso is disappointed that he didn't have a special reason to pick her, but she takes in this information graciously. When she's ready to go home, Young-joon asks if she had fun talking about old times with Seogyeon, and how it felt to see the boy she's been looking for, and she says it feels surreal. After a long pause, Young-joon speaks hesitantly, his voice low, saying tentatively that she probably heard about what happened to him, too, and how Seogyeon went through his ordeal because Young-joon left him. Miso nods quietly, her expression softening, and says she did, and also learned that he lost all of his memories of that time. She says sympathetically that he shouldn't carry the burden of guilt alone, not to blame himself for what happened, and after she leaves, Young-joon stares after her, his gaze lingering with an ache that seems to stretch endlessly, looking infinitely sad. When she gets home, Miso opens the diary she wrote to Oppa and reads about her young self's determination to find him again. The words blur slightly as emotion wells in her eyes, each sentence a thread pulling her back to the past. Young-joon stays up late, looking at Miso's resume and thinking about her asking him if he knew her before her interview. His eyes linger on her name, the question echoing louder now, tangled with memories just beyond reach. He remembers showing up at an employee dinner and spotting Miso, who was just a temporary employee, and how his heart lifted unexpectedly at the sight of her. He had smiled seeing her, drawn in by something familiar and warm. He sat beside her and asked if she knew who he was, and when she'd said he was the chairman's son, his chest tightened slightly as he stifled his disappointment. Later, he'd specifically asked an employee to find Miso and tell her to apply for the secretary job, just so he could hire her. It hadn't been about qualifications, he simply needed her clothes. Back in the present, Miso tells Yoshik that it was Seogyeon, not Young-joon, that she was locked up with as a child. Her voice is steady, but her eyes flicker with a shadow of something unresolved. Yoshik notices that she seems disappointed that it wasn't Young-joon, but she denies it and asks him not to say anything to Young-joon. After she leaves, Yoshik muses that something seems off. He watches her go, thoughtful, as if a piece of the puzzle still refuses to fit. Young-joon's parents complain that they haven't seen Seogyeon much since he's been home, and he explains that he needed to see someone. Dad asks if he's talking about a girlfriend, and Seogyeon says cryptically that that could be the case soon. A small, knowing smile plays at the edge of his lips. Mom is skeptical, calling him a playboy, but he says that it feels different this time. There's a rare seriousness in his voice, like something long buried is stirring. He calls Miso and invites her to lunch, saying that they have a lot more to talk about. With a sad look in Young-joon's direction, she agrees, and she asks Young-joon if she can take her lunch separately today. She's honest about Seogyeon's invitation, and Young-joon struggles to keep his voice even as he tells her she can go. His expression doesn't change much, but something in his posture deflates, just slightly. At lunch, Sageon says he couldn't sleep last night and asks about Miso. They discuss how long they looked for the person who comforted them in that scary house, and Sageon asks Miso what she wanted to do most when she found him. His tone is gentle, but his eyes search hers, hoping for an answer that might close a gap he still feels. She says she's not sure, but he presses her, asking if he's her first love. She answers uneasily that it's not like that, her voice faltering beneath the weight of his expectation, but he asks if she'll help him recover his memory anyway. Caught between kindness and discomfort, she nods reluctantly. When they leave, they find Young-joon lurking outside the restaurant, saying Miso forgot about an important appointment. She argues that Jia was going to attend, but he says it's her job. Miso goes to the car so Young-joon can speak with Sageon alone. Her steps are hesitant, aware of the tension she's leaving behind. He tells Sageon plainly, "Don't seek him, Miso, anymore." Sageon fires back not to interfere in their business, but Young-joon says that he has more right to have a business matters with Miso, since they've worked together for 9 years. His voice is calm but tight, clipped with barely concealed protectiveness. Sageon retorts that Miso looked for him for longer than 9 years, which he thinks means they're destined for each other. His tone is smug, laced with certainty. Young-joon scoffs that Sageon sounds like he's writing another novel using a too obvious trope. The jab lands, and Sageon's smirk briefly fades. On the way to the meeting, Miso says she and Sageon are going to the old redevelopment district after work tomorrow, to try and jog their memory of what happened. Hearing that, Young-joon tells her breathlessly not to go, practically begging, but Miso says she really wants to go. There's a quiet finality in her voice, a pull she feels she has to follow. Back at the office, Bachelor GWI Nam breaks up a conversation between Jia and Sarah when he sees them laughing together again. When Sarah looks away for a second to preen, he glares at Jia and gives her the "zip it" gesture again. Jia raises an eyebrow but says nothing, smirking as he turns away. Sarah invites GWI Nam to a workshop their office is holding this weekend, but he declines. He mutters something vague, trying to stay aloof. Team leader Jung wanders by and says to GWI Nam, "I heard that you last only a week with that." GWI Nam freaks out and accuses Jia of telling everyone his secret about only owning one suit, but team leader Jung says he didn't hear anything that should be a secret from her. GWI Nam blinks, unsure whether to be relieved or more suspicious. Confused, GWI Nam asks what he's talking about, so team leader Jung says he means the ginseng juice his mother sent to help him work harder. GWI Nam laughs that of course he meant the juice, and he suddenly decides to attend their workshop, probably to make sure Jia doesn't talk. His grin is forced, but his eyes flick warily in Jia's direction, already plotting damage control. At the end of the day, Young-joon snarks at Miso about going to find memories with her dear old friend. He tries to order her not to go through telepathy, muttering the chant, don't go, inside his head with growing desperation, but of course she goes. When he's alone, Young-joon grumps that she should be putting more effort into making memories with him. His voice is tinged with frustration and something softer, loneliness. He ends up cancelling his dinner meeting to go to the gym with Yoshik. As they're leaving the office, Yoshik sees Sageon picking up Miso and claps a hand over Young-joon's eyes. "Subtle, dude," he mutters with a grin. He holds on desperately while Young-joon threatens to fire him, not letting go until Sageon and Miso are gone. The tension between them breaks into a reluctant laugh. As they walk around the development area nearest where Miso used to live, Sagyeon tells Miso that the woman who kidnapped them was the mistress of a married man, and that she had an abortion then was broken up with, so she kidnapped them in anger. The story hangs heavy in the air, casting a shadow over the quiet streets. He asks if she recalls how they escaped the house, but all she remembers is holding hands as he walked her home. Sagyeon doesn't remember walking her home, or what she called him back then. She says she called him Oppa, and he asks if she would call him that now, dropping the formalities. Young-joon takes his frustrations out on a punching bag, but it's not enough, so he asks Yoshik to spar with him. During a break, Yoshik asks why Young-joon is upset, and Young-joon says there's something he doesn't want taken away from him. He hotly denies that this is about Miso, but Yoshik snaps at him to stop making up stories, admit the truth like a man, and to go confess to Miso. Young-joon's silence says more than words ever could. Miso gives Sagyeon her childhood diary to read, hoping it will jog his memories. Sagyeon says that he's always blamed Young-joon for what happened, but that he's feeling less resentful now, and even starting to feel grateful to Young-joon now that he's reconnected with Miso. There's a hint of peace in his voice, a shift that surprises even himself. She gets an emergency call from Young-joon, so Sagyeon drives her to the office. He wonders if they're having so many emergencies lately because the vice president is incompetent, but Young-joon says that in fact the vice president is so competent that he's always under attack. They are not talking about work anymore. After Sagyeon is gone, Young-joon informs Miso that the emergency is that he's hungry and orders her to make him ramyun. She takes him to a ramyun restaurant, and when he pouts that this isn't the ramyun he wanted, Miso retorts that this isn't the situation she wanted. Her tone is sharp, but there's a hint of warmth beneath it. She asks why he interrupts whenever she's with Sagyeon, saying that she needs to spend time with him to recover her old memories. Still sulking, Young-joon tells her to bury those memories and live for the future. He asks if her past is so important that it's worth upsetting the guy she's in a relationship with, and when she stammers at him, he says that they like each other, so that's what this is. He practically dares Miso to deny it, his eyes challenging hers. But she can't, so she just snaps that this isn't the place for this conversation. When he drops Miso off at home, he says bluntly that he's handsome, rich, and competent, and he asks Miso to stop rejecting him and marry him. He admits that the first time he asked, it was because he didn't want her to quit, but that this time he really means it. He asks her to date him for real, and she smiles, then says no. The rejection hangs heavy between them, but her smile is genuine. She admits that they're in a relationship, but she says primly that he's only saying all this out of jealousy. She tells him that she doesn't want to start a relationship this way, and Young-joon does that weird nervous sniffling thing again. Miso goes inside, leaving Young-joon standing there, quietly wondering how many times she's dumped him already. In the morning, the office team members get ready for their weekend workshop. Mayung, Yoshik's secretary, is so happy to be included that she's bought enough food and alcohol for everyone. Her enthusiasm fills the room, setting a festive tone. Their celebration comes to a screeching halt when Nam shows up wearing the same suit he wears to work every single day. When everyone heads for the car, Nam grabs Jia by the backpack and tells her that he's going to the workshop to keep an eye on her. He feels like she knows too much about his one suit and tiny apartment, and he says he doesn't want her telling people how frugal he is. She asks why it's such a big deal to him, and he says he doesn't want his image as an attractive workaholic ruined. His worry is surprisingly earnest. At a rest stop later, JWI Nam is the only one not having any snacks. Sarah tries to get him to eat some tteokbokki, and she ends up dropping the bite on his jacket. He shrieks, "This is my only suit," and nearly gives away his own secret, but he covers by saying that he cares for his many suits like they're all his only one. His panic is almost comical. Team leader Jung and Mayum joke about how a woman asking a man to come in for ramyun is synonymous with seduction. Miso thinks about how she invited Young-joon to stay for ramyun, and she snaps that offering a man ramyun could just be offering actual ramyun. She laughs nervously at herself when they all stare, but the thought lingers in her mind longer than she expects. Young-joon spends the morning flying his drone, obsessing about Miso's most recent rejection. He grumbles that he was being sincere, then seems to get an idea. His bro furrows as determination takes hold. Despite the workshop being a supposed working weekend, Miso tells them that they're on vacation. They all go for a walk, stopping briefly to let a fumigation truck pass, and they all gasp to see a horror coming at them through the fumes. Young-joon. He cheerfully blames his presence on Cheol, who needs to participate as part of the team. Cheol's looking at him like he's suddenly lost his mind. Young-joon says he would have sent Cheol alone, but he thought it would be meaningful to be with his team. His grin is unapologetically mischievous. An awkward silence falls as panic sets in, the group suddenly alert under Young-joon's watchful gaze. They hastily claim they were just returning to the guest house to resume work, scrambling to conjure up a vision statement on the spot, each more absurd than the last. As Miso approaches with a tray of snacks, Young-joon steps into her path, his tone unexpectedly gentle as he admits the real reason he came is because of her. He tells her that he couldn't be at home, panicking over her rejection in silence, and that the thought of her thinking about her, Oppa, instead of him was unbearable, so he came here to change that. He says plainly that his goal for this workshop isn't just team building, it's to put an end to their undefined sum and start a real relationship. With a steady gaze, he vows that by the end of the weekend, she'll be his girlfriend. His voice is bold and unwavering, a mix of resolve and vulnerability. Jia nearly overhears that last part, but Young-joon quickly recovers, announcing grandly that since he's here, they'll all become one cohesive team by the time the workshop ends. He heads inside to hear everyone's vision statements, each more misguided than the last, except for JWI Nam's, which is so dense and technical no one can make heads or tails of it. Sighing that this definitely wasn't the reason he came, Young-joon suggests they stop talking altogether and gives each person 2 seconds to communicate their vision to him through eye contact alone. He goes to Miso, and her furious eye daggers give him a start. He asks if she's accurately expressing her vision, and she retorts, "I'm showing my determination to go through this hardship." Her glare is fierce enough to make him flinch. Young-joon tries to release them all for free time, but Jia pipes up that it's time for Find the Ribbon. She tells everyone to form groups of 2 and search for ribbons with the company motto hidden on the mountain. Young-joon perks up at groups of 2, and with a smirk at Miso, he says they'll start immediately. He pretends to think about who to choose as his partner. Everyone hides their face while JWI Nam's hand shoots up, then shocker of shockers, he picks Miso. Everyone pairs off, and Young-joon announces that the team who finds the most ribbons wins a gift certificate and a tablet. That ignites everyone's competitive spirits, but nobody more than JWI Nam, who runs like the wind as soon as the signal is given to start. Jia follows behind him, whining in annoyance, and he asks if she thinks he's pathetic for caring about the prize. He says it's not the prize he cares about, but winning. Jia groans that she doesn't want it, but it's only until they find their first ribbon. It's high up in a tree, so GWI Nam removes his jacket and solemnly hands it to Jia, then climbs the tree for the ribbon. He suddenly realizes how high up he is, a terrifying 4 feet, at least, and he starts pitifully begging Jia to help him down. She's not keen on the idea of being his step stool, so she fakes a call from mom and wanders off, leaving GWI Nam stranded. Back in the city, Segyeon reads Miso's diary, smiling softly at her tiny sorrow over forgetting his name and her hopeful belief that he'd come back someday and remind her. He wonders quietly to himself what she might be doing right now. At the moment, she's plodding through the forest after Young-joon, who wants to talk about how his confession was sincere even though it was influenced by jealousy. Miso's phone rings, and at her guilty expression, Young-joon answers and tells Segyeon that he's with Miso. He hangs up and tells Miso to focus on the person she likes, but she says firmly that right now she wants to find her memories. Young-joon asks if she's going to keep seeing his brother even though he hates it, and Miso says determinedly that she is. Elsewhere in the forest, Sera yells at her partner Cheol for getting bowled over by Mayum and Young-ok. He mumbles that he's not as strong as he looks, then tells her that there's a bug on her shirt. She freaks out, screaming bloody murder, just as GWI Nam runs past. Sera runs so hard that one of her push-ups falls out of her bra. Cheol realizes she's scared GWI Nam will see it, so he rips off his jacket and heroically throws it onto her falsie. When GWI Nam is gone, Cheol picks up the falsie inside his jacket and gallantly offers it to Sera, then runs off to spare her further embarrassment. Young-joon gets his own hero moment when it starts to rain, giving him the chance to cover Miso with his jacket. With their faces only inches apart, Young-joon tells Miso to enjoy her 9,000,001 umbrella while she can. They run for cover together, smiling, their argument forgotten. They watch the rain from under a pavilion, and Miso enjoys the view, until she spots a spider. She screams while Young-joon quickly grabs the spider and tosses it away, then comforts Miso until she calms down. He gives her a chocolate he got from team leader Jung, which reminds her of being trapped in that old house, and Oppa giving her a caramel to calm her down. Miso takes the chocolate and feels better, and soon the rain stops. As they walk back to the guest house, Miso tells Young-joon how she's been terrified of spiders since the kidnapping, because there was a huge spider outside the door. Young-joon says that when you're small, everything seems huge, so she doesn't need to be scared of the spider anymore. He tells her about a dog he had as a child, a golden retriever named Big Bang Andromeda Supernova Sonic. Miso, you named him yourself, didn't you? Young-joon laughs and says that Big Bang had a strange habit of burying treats and never going back for them. He thinks they're probably all still buried somewhere in his yard, even though Big Bang died years ago. But if he dug them up, he might find they're rotten. He tells Miso that he doesn't want her to dig up painful memories and suffer like he and his family have suffered. Miso says that she understands, but she's always lived for her family and even has a job that requires her to prioritize someone else. She continues that she's not used to people being considerate of her, but on that day, Oppa protected her. She says it was the kindest thing anyone ever did for her, and asks him not to hate her for spending time with Segyeon, who showed her that same kindness. She starts walking again, but Young-joon calls after her, "You can have whatever you want, and know whatever you want to know. I will understand. You can do everything you wish to do. I will bear it all. I am confident that I can bear everything about you."